The warning lights flashed red across the engineering deck of Orbital Station New Seoul. Lee Jun wiped the sweat from his forehead as he tightened the last bolt on the damaged cooling system. 3 days of non-stop repairs had left him exhausted, but the station was finally running smoothly again. Jun stretched his aching back and looked out through the thick glass windows at the star field beyond. Earth hung like a blue marble in the distance while cargo ships moved slowly between the orbital platforms. It was peaceful up here. Quiet. Just the way he liked it. The communication panel beside his workstation suddenly crackled to life. A weak signal broke through the static. Jun frowned and adjusted the frequency controls. The signal was faint but definitely there. Someone was broadcasting on an emergency channel. "This is Lee Jun on Engineering Deck 7. He spoke into his headset. "Control, are you picking up this distress signal?" Static filled his earpiece for several seconds before Kim Tae-ho's voice responded. "Negative, Jun. All our sensors show clear space. You must be getting interference from the solar storm." But Jun knew the difference between interference and a real signal. He had been working communication systems for 8 years. This was definitely a distress call. The pattern was wrong for human technology, but it followed basic mathematical sequences that any intelligent species might use. He traced the signal's direction using the station's passive sensors. The source was moving slowly toward the radiation field left behind by last week's solar flare. Whatever was out there would be dead within hours if it entered that deadly zone. "Control, I'm reading a possible ship in distress at coordinates 77 Mark 4, Jun reported. "Request permission to investigate." "Negative." Kim Tae-ho's voice was sharp. "You know the regulations, Jun. No solo missions beyond the safety perimeter. Besides, we have cargo ships arriving in 2 hours that need priority." Jun stared at the signal readout. The distress call was getting weaker. Whatever was broadcasting wouldn't last much longer. He thought about the protocols and regulations that kept everyone safe. But he also thought about whoever might be dying out there in the cold darkness of space. "Understood, Control," he said finally. "Jun out." He switched off his headset and moved quickly through the engineering section. The rescue pods were kept in Bay 12 for emergency evacuation. Each pod carried enough air and power for a 6-hour rescue mission. More than enough time to reach the signal source and return. Jun grabbed an emergency suit and began the pre-flight checks on Rescue Pod 7. His hands moved automatically through the familiar routine while his mind calculated distances and fuel requirements. The math was tight, but doable. The pod's engines hummed to life as Jun sealed the airlock behind him. He had maybe 10 minutes before Control noticed the missing pod on their tracking screens. By then, he would be too far away for them to stop him. Space opened up around the small rescue craft as it cleared the station. Jun oriented toward the signal source and pushed the engines to maximum burn. The pod shook slightly as it accelerated toward the distant radiation field. 20 minutes later, he spotted the ship. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. The hull seemed to be made of some crystalline material that caught and reflected starlight in strange patterns. Parts of the ship glowed with a soft inner light, while other sections were dark and clearly damaged. The vessel was tumbling slowly, leaking atmosphere from several breaches in its side. Jun's scanner showed the radiation field was less than an hour away. He maneuvered his pod closer and activated the universal docking protocols. To his surprise, the alien ship responded. Airlock seals aligned and connected with mechanical precision. Someone inside was still alive and aware enough to operate their systems. Jun put on his helmet and entered the alien vessel through the connected airlocks. The interior was filled with a thick atmosphere that his suit's sensors identified as mostly nitrogen and oxygen, but with trace gases that might be toxic to humans. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows on walls that seemed to be grown rather than built. Everything had organic curves and smooth surfaces. The air was warm and humid like a greenhouse. He followed the source of the distress signal deeper into the ship. His boots made soft sounds on floors that felt slightly yielding under his weight. The ship's life support was failing, but something was still working to maintain atmosphere in the central areas. In what might have been the ship's medical bay, June found them. The adult was clearly injured, lying on what looked like a crystalline bed that pulsed with soft light. Her skin had a translucent quality with veins of bioluminescence running beneath the surface. She was definitely female, protecting a smaller figure curled against her side. The child was perhaps 5 years old in human terms. Its skin glowed brighter than the adult's, and it made soft musical sounds that might have been crying. When June entered the room, both aliens looked at him with large eyes that shifted color from blue to green to gold. The adult female tried to speak. Her voice was musical, but the words were completely unfamiliar. She gestured weakly toward the child and then toward June. Her meaning was clear even without shared language. She was asking him to save her baby. June's scanner showed dangerous levels of radiation building up in the ship's hull. They had maybe 30 minutes before the vessel entered the deadly field. Not enough time for a careful evacuation, but enough to try something desperate. He activated his suit's emergency beacon and began broadcasting on all frequencies. If Control was listening, they would know where he was. More importantly, they would know he had found something extraordinary. Working quickly, June used his engineering knowledge to patch the worst hull breaches with emergency sealant from his kit. The repairs wouldn't hold for long, but they might. Buy enough time to get everyone back to his rescue pod. The alien female seemed to understand what he was doing. She managed to stand and help gather what looked like medical supplies and personal items. The child clung to her side, still making those musical sounds. Getting them both into his small rescue pod was like solving a 3-dimensional puzzle. The aliens were taller and more slender than humans. Their crystalline skin felt warm and slightly rough under June's gloved hands. They smelled like ozone and growing things. As the pod pulled away from the dying alien ship, June watched it disappear into the radiation field. Within minutes, the beautiful crystalline hull was dissolving under the intense energy bombardment. He had arrived just in time. The trip back to New Sol took 40 minutes. During the journey, the adult alien's condition worsened. Her bioluminescent patterns grew dimmer and her breathing became labored. The child pressed close to her side, its own glow flickering like a candle in the wind. June found himself talking to them in quiet Korean, knowing they couldn't understand, but hoping his tone would be reassuring. He told them about the medical facilities on the station. He promised they would be safe. When New Sol appeared ahead of them, June realized his life had just changed forever. He was bringing back the first proof that intelligent life existed beyond Earth. But more than that, he was bringing back a mother and child who needed help. As the rescue pod docked with the station, June made a silent promise to the two aliens. Whatever happened next, he would make sure they were protected. They had trusted him enough to come with a complete stranger into an unknown environment. He wouldn't let them down. The medical bay doors sealed shut behind Lee June with a soft hiss. Through the thick glass window, he could see the alien mother and child lying on examination tables surrounded by confused doctors and scientists. Their crystalline skin still glowed softly, but the light was much dimmer than before. Station Commander Park So-jin stood beside him with her arms crossed. Her face showed the stress of dealing with humanity's first contact situation. The quarantine will last at least 2 weeks, June. We need to make sure you haven't been exposed to anything dangerous. June nodded but kept watching the aliens through the window. The child kept reaching for its mother even while the medical team tried to examine them. Every time they were separated, the little one's glow would flicker like a dying light bulb. They need to stay together, June said quietly. Can't you see how scared the child gets when they're apart? Dr. Choi Han-sol is our best xenobiologist, Park So-jin replied. He knows what he's doing. Right now, we need to understand their biology before we can help them properly. But June could see that the separation was making both aliens weaker. The mother's breathing had become more labored, and the child had stopped making those musical sounds entirely. Something was wrong with the whole approach. 3 days passed in the quarantine room. June read reports and watched news feeds about the discovery. The media was calling it the most important event in human history. Scientists from around the world were demanding access to study the aliens. Military officials wanted to know if they represented a threat to Earth. None of them seemed to care that a mother and child were suffering. On the 4th day, Dr. Choi Han-sol visited June's quarantine room. The scientist was excited about his preliminary findings. The aliens appear to be silicon-based life forms, he explained. Their crystalline structure allows them to process energy directly from light sources. Fascinating, really. What about their emotional needs? June asked. The child hasn't eaten anything since we separated them. Dr. Choi waved dismissively. We're still determining their nutritional requirements. These creatures are completely different from Earth life. We can't assume they have the same social structures as humans. But June had seen the fear in their eyes. He had watched the mother try to comfort her child even while injured and dying. That wasn't just biology. That was love. That evening, June made a decision. The quarantine room's communication system was designed for medical emergencies. He activated it and began speaking in simple Korean words while looking directly at the window where the aliens could see him. Hello, he said slowly. My name is June. The alien mother's head turned toward his voice. Her eyes shifted from blue to green as she focused on him through the glass. She tried to sit up on the examination table. June pointed to himself. June. Then he pointed to her. You! She seemed to understand. Her voice was like wind chimes when she spoke. The sounds were completely unlike any human language, but there was definitely intelligence behind them. For the next hour, June worked on basic communication. He pointed to objects and spoke their Korean names. The alien mother began repeating the sounds with her musical voice. Progress was slow, but definitely happening. The child watched everything with large eyes that sparkled with curiosity. When June made funny faces through the window, the little alien's skin would brighten slightly. It was the first sign of happiness June had seen from either of them. By the end of the week, they had established basic vocabulary. The alien mother's name sounded like Vela when she said it in her musical language. The child was Kiros. They came from a place that translated roughly as crystal home. More importantly, June learned they were refugees. Vela's attempts to explain were limited by language barriers, but she managed to communicate that their world was destroyed. Her mate, Kiros's father, had died protecting their escape ship. Dr. Choi was fascinated by the language progress, but frustrated that the aliens wouldn't cooperate with his more invasive tests. They keep asking for you, June. It's interfering with our research schedule. Maybe they trust me because I saved them, June suggested. Have you considered that they might cooperate better if they felt safe? These are alien life forms, not human children, Dr. Choi replied sharply. We can't afford to be sentimental about first contact protocols. But June could see that Vela was getting weaker every day. Her glow was fading and she barely had energy to speak. Kiros had stopped responding to anyone except his mother. The child would only eat when Vela encouraged him. On the 10th day of quarantine, Vela collapsed during a medical examination. Her crystalline skin went completely dark for several terrifying minutes. The medical team managed to stabilize her, but she remained unconscious. Kiros went into what could only be described as shock. The child's glow dimmed to almost nothing, and he curled into a ball on his examination table. No amount of coaxing could get him to respond. That night, June broke quarantine protocols. Using his engineering access codes, he overrode the medical bay locks and entered the sterile examination room. Alarms began sounding immediately, but he ignored them. Security would arrive in minutes, but he needed to try something. June gently lifted Kairos from the examination table and placed him beside his unconscious mother. The child's skin was cool to the touch and barely glowing. But as soon as he felt his mother's presence, Kairos's light began to brighten. More importantly, Vela's eyes opened. She looked at June with gratitude that transcended language barriers. Her hand touched his arm in a gesture of thanks. "They need each other," June said to the security guards who burst into the room. "Can't you see that separation is killing them?" Station Commander Park So-jin arrived as medical staff checked both aliens. Vela's vital signs were already improving with her child beside her. Kairos was making soft musical sounds again. "Dr. Choi won't be happy about this breach of protocol," Park So-jin said quietly. "Then maybe it's time to change the protocols," June replied. "These aren't specimens for study. They're people, a mother and child who have lost everything except each other." Park So-jin studied the aliens lying together on the medical bed. Both their lights were growing brighter by the minute. The improvement in their condition was undeniable. "The Korean Space Command is sending a team to take them to Earth for more comprehensive study," she said finally. "They'll be here in 3 days." June felt his heart sink. Earth's research facilities would be even more focused on scientific analysis. The chances of keeping Vela and Kairos together would be almost zero. "They won't survive separation," he said. "Whatever you do to them has to account for their emotional needs." "I'll include your observations in my report," Park So-jin promised. "But the decision isn't mine to make anymore." That night, June sat in his quarantine room and watched Vela teach her child simple Korean words. The little alien was learning quickly now that his mother was recovering. He could already say June and hello and thank you. But June knew their time together was running out. In 3 days, they would be taken to Earth, where scientists would treat them like fascinating puzzles to be solved rather than people to be protected. He had saved their lives in space, but the real battle for their survival was just beginning. And this time, the enemy wasn't radiation or failing life support systems. It was humanity's own curiosity and fear of the unknown. As he watched Kairos snuggle close to his mother, June made another promise. Whatever happened when the Korean Space Command arrived, he wouldn't let this family be destroyed by good intentions and scientific protocols. They had already lost too much. He wouldn't let them lose each other too. The transport ship to Earth was cold and sterile. Lee June sat in the passenger compartment watching Vela hold Kairos close as they traveled toward humanity's home planet. Both aliens looked frightened, despite his attempts to reassure them in their slowly developing shared language. Director Yang Min-soo of Earth's Xenological Research Institute had made his intentions clear during the briefing. Vela and Kairos would be separated for comprehensive study. Individual analysis would provide better scientific data than keeping them together. "They are the first alien life forms humanity has encountered," Yang Min-soo had explained. "We cannot let emotional considerations interfere with this historic opportunity for advancement." But June had seen what separation did to them. He had watched Vela nearly die and Kairos retreat into silent despair when they were kept apart. The scientists were making a terrible mistake based on incomplete understanding. The Xenological Research Institute was a massive complex built into the mountains outside Seoul. Its laboratories and holding facilities were designed to contain any possible threat from unknown life forms. To June, it looked more like a prison than a research center. Within hours of arrival, Vela and Kairos were placed in separate containment units. The rooms were comfortable but isolated from each other by thick walls and multiple security barriers. June was assigned as their primary human contact due to his communication breakthrough on the station. He found Vela in her containment room, staring at the walls with dim, glowing patterns across her crystalline skin. She had learned enough Korean to express her distress clearly. "Where is Kairos?" she asked in her musical voice. "Why take my child away?" "The scientists want to study you both," June explained. They think it will be safer to keep you separate, while they run tests. Vela's light dimmed further. Kiros needs mother. I need my child. We are family unit. Cannot survive alone long time. June spent hours trying to convince director Yang Min-soo to reconsider the separation policy. He showed medical data from the station proving that both aliens' health deteriorated when they were apart. He explained the concept of family bonding among their species. Your emotional attachment to these creatures is clouding your scientific judgment, Yang Min-soo replied coldly. We have protocols to follow. Individual study will yield far more useful data. Meanwhile, Kiros was placed in a room designed for children with toys and games that human researchers thought might interest him. But the young alien sat silently in the corner, his skin barely glowing. He refused to eat or interact with anyone, except June. During his visits, June tried to teach Kiros simple games and showed him pictures of Earth. The child would brighten slightly when June arrived, but always asked the same heartbreaking question. Where is Mama Vela? When can Kiros go home to Mama? Soon, June promised each time, knowing it was probably a lie. The research team began running extensive tests on both aliens: blood samples, brain scans, tissue analysis, psychological evaluations. Vela cooperated reluctantly, but Kiros became increasingly withdrawn. The child's glow faded more each day until he was barely visible in dim lighting. After 2 weeks, Dr. Choi Han-sol approached June with disturbing news. The child's cellular structure is breaking down. We think it might be some kind of alien disease affecting his crystalline matrix. But June suspected the real cause. Have you considered that he's dying of loneliness? His mother is the only family he has left, and you've taken her away. Aliens don't experience emotions the same way humans do, Dr. Choi insisted. This is clearly a biological malfunction we need to understand. That evening, June made another unauthorized decision. Using his security clearance, he accessed both containment areas after the research staff went home. The facility's night security was minimal since the aliens were considered secure. He found Kiros lying motionless on his bed, skin so dim it was almost transparent. The child was dying, and the medical equipment showed his vital signs failing rapidly. June carried the unconscious alien through the corridors to Vela's containment room. Her reaction when she saw her child was immediate and dramatic. Light blazed across her crystalline skin as she took Kiros in her arms. My baby, she whispered in Korean mixed with her own language. My little starlight. As Vela held her child, both their skins began to glow brighter. Some kind of energy transfer was happening between them. Kiros's breathing improved and his color began to return. They share life force, June realized. That's why separation is killing them. They're not just emotionally bonded, they're biologically connected. Vela looked up at him with gratitude shining in her color-shifting eyes. Thank you, June. You save Kiros again. You are good man. The child stirred in his mother's arms and opened his eyes. When he saw June, he managed a weak smile. Papa June, he whispered in Korean. You bring Mama back. The word Papa hit June like a physical blow. This alien child was calling him father. Somehow during their brief time together, he had become part of their family unit in ways he didn't fully understand. Security alarms began sounding as the facility's night sensors detected the breach. Guards would arrive within minutes to separate the family again. But June had learned something crucial about alien biology that could change everything. Vela, he said urgently, I need you to do something important. The humans want to understand your people. They're afraid you might be dangerous. Can you show them that your species wants peace? She nodded while still holding Kiros. We are peaceful people, crystal singers who grow cities from light and harmony. War came to our world from outside, dark ones who consume instead of create. Tell them about your technology, June suggested. Show them that your people can help humanity. As security. Guards surrounded the containment room. Vela made a decision that would change both species forever. She placed her hand on the wall, and her skin blazed with brilliant light. The facility's computers began receiving massive data streams in mathematical languages that human scientists had never seen. I give you gift of crystal knowledge, she said to the astonished guards and researchers who rushed into the room. Vela's people want friendship with humans. We share technology for protection of both species. Director Yang Min-soo arrived to find his entire computer system downloading alien technical databases. Weapons technology, energy systems, faster than light communication, medical advances that could revolutionize human civilization. She's giving us their entire scientific knowledge base, one technician reported in amazement. The computational complexity is beyond anything we've ever seen. But Vela's gift came with conditions. Knowledge shared freely between friends, but Kiros and Vela stay together. Family bonds must be respected. This is way of crystal singers. Yang Min-soo looked at the massive technology transfer happening on his screens. The alien information could advance human science by centuries. The military applications alone were staggering, but it all depended on treating two refugees with basic compassion. You're under arrest for violating containment protocols, he said to June. But given the circumstances, we'll discuss new housing arrangements for our guests. As guards escorted June away, he saw Vela teaching Kiros to make his skin glow in patterns that looked like Korean letters. The child was getting stronger by the minute now that he was back with his mother. Thank you, Papa June, Kiros called out in clear Korean. You keep family together. In his holding cell that night, June learned from news broadcasts that Earth's astronomers had detected massive ships approaching the outer solar system, unknown vessels moving faster than anything humanity had ever built. The alien refugees weren't just seeking sanctuary. They were trying to warn Earth about something terrible that was following them across the stars, and now humanity's survival might depend on the bond between a human engineer and the alien family he had chosen to protect. The emergency session of the Korean National Assembly was unlike anything in history. President Lim Da-yoon stood before the gathered representatives, while holographic displays showed the approaching alien fleet. Massive ships moved through space, toward Earth at impossible speeds. Lee Jun sat in the witness section beside Vela and Kiros. The young alien stayed close to his mother, but his eyes were bright with curiosity as he watched the human political process. In the weeks since the technology transfer, both aliens had learned to speak Korean fluently. The vessels approaching our solar system are not explorers or traders, Vela explained to the assembly in her musical accent. They are the devourers, the dark ones who destroyed my world and consumed my people. Admiral Kang Woo-jin of the Korean Space Defense Force studied the tactical displays with growing concern. Our analysis shows at least 50 capital ships supported by hundreds of smaller vessels. Their technology appears more advanced than anything we possess. That is why I shared crystal singer knowledge with humans, Vela continued. Alone, neither species can survive the devourers. Together, we might have chance for victory. The technology she had provided was beyond human understanding in many areas. Crystal matrices that could amplify energy weapons, shields that bent space-time itself, communication systems that worked faster than light across galactic distances. But there was a problem. The alien technology required a living crystal singer to interface with the systems. The biological connection between Tharian neural pathways and their crystalline technology could not be duplicated artificially. You're asking us to risk the life of our only alien ally, President Lim Da-yoon said carefully. If something happens to Vela during battle, we lose both her knowledge and any hope of understanding her people. Vela's skin glowed with determined patterns. I am already dying, slowly on this world. My body was damaged in escape from home world. Crystal singers need specific minerals and energy frequencies to maintain health. Earth cannot provide what I need long-term. June felt his heart clench. He had rescued Vela and Kiros from space, only to watch her slowly fade away on an alien world. The medical tests had confirmed that her biological systems were breaking down without the proper environmental conditions. "How long do you have?" he asked quietly. "Perhaps 6 months if I remain inactive," she replied. "But if I interface with battle systems to defend Earth, the energy drain will shorten that time considerably." Kiros moved closer to his mother and took her hand. The child understood more than adults sometimes realized. "Mama Vela gets sick helping humans fight bad ships," he said in simple Korean. The assembly hall fell silent as the implications became clear. Vela was offering to sacrifice her remaining life to give humanity a chance against the Devourers. Without her ability to control the crystal technology, Earth's defenses would be useless. "There must be another way," June protested. "Some method that doesn't require you to risk everything." "Crystal Singer technology is not just machines," Vela explained. "It is harmony between living mind and crystalline structure. Without biological interface, the systems are only pretty rocks." Admiral Kang Woo-jin presented the defense plans his engineers had developed using Vela's technology. The experimental battleship Taeguk would serve as the command vessel, equipped with crystal matrices throughout its hull. Smaller ships would form defensive squadrons around Earth and the Moon. "We estimate the Devourer fleet will arrive in 37 days, he reported. "That gives us barely enough time to install the alien technology and train our crews in its operation." The vote was unanimous. Earth would prepare for humanity's first interstellar war using a combination of human engineering and alien crystal singing technology. Vela would serve as the primary interface operator aboard the Taeguk. The following weeks passed in frantic preparation. Shipyards worked around the clock to install crystal matrices in Earth's defense fleet. Vela spent long hours teaching human engineers how to maintain and repair the alien systems. June was assigned as her technical liaison, helping translate between human mechanical knowledge and Crystal Singer biological interfaces. He watched her grow weaker each day as the effort of preparing Earth's defenses drained her life force. "You don't have to do this," he told her one evening as they worked late in the Taeguk's engineering section. "There might be other survivors of your people who could help. Kiros and I are only crystal singers who escaped the Devourer attack on our world," she replied sadly. "All others were consumed or converted to the Dark Collective. If I do not fight here, the Devourers will spread to other worlds and destroy more families." Kiros had become a favorite among the human crew members. The young alien helped where he could, carrying tools and learning human technical terms. His natural curiosity and quick learning impressed everyone who worked with him. But June could see the fear in the child's eyes. Kiros understood that his mother might not survive the coming battle. The only family he had left could be taken away again by circumstances beyond anyone's control. 3 days before the Devourer fleet's arrival, Vela performed a Crystal Singer ceremony in the ship's main conference room. She placed her hands on June's forehead and shared memories directly through bioluminescent contact. Suddenly, June could see Vela's homeworld as it had been before the war. Beautiful crystal cities that grew like living things, reaching toward multiple suns. Crystal singers who shaped matter with harmonious thought patterns, creating art and technology that served life rather than destroying it. Then came the darkness. The Devourers had once been crystal singers themselves, but they had chosen a different path. Instead of harmony with the natural world, they sought to consume and control everything they encountered. Individual identity was surrendered to a collective consciousness that valued only expansion and dominance. "The Devourers were our brothers once," Vela's voice echoed in his mind. They became convinced that unity through consumption was superior to diversity through cooperation. Now they seek to convert all intelligent life to their collective vision. The memory sharing ended, but the images remained burned into June's consciousness. He understood now why Vela was willing to sacrifice everything to stop the Devourers. They represented the complete opposite of everything Crystal Singers believed about life and intelligence. "I make you promise, June," Vela said, as she removed her hands from his forehead. "If I do not survive battle, you protect Kiros. He is last free Crystal Singer child. In him lives hope for our people's future." "You're going to survive," June said firmly. "We're going to win this battle and find a way to help you recover your health." But Vela's skin patterns showed the sadness she tried to hide. "Crystal Singers do not fear death when it serves life. But I fear leaving Kiros alone in universe without family." That night, June found Kiros sitting by the observation window, looking out at the stars. The child's glow was subdued as he processed the adult conversations he had been hearing. "Papa June," Kiros said quietly, "will you take care of Kiros if Mama Vela goes to join Papa in star songs?" The question broke June's heart. This young alien who had already lost his father and his entire world was now facing the possibility of losing his mother too. But he was asking with the acceptance of someone far older than his years. "Your Mama Vela is going to come back from the battle," June promised. "But if something happens, yes. I will take care of you. Your family now, Kiros." The child brightened slightly and moved closer to June. "Good. Kiros likes having human papa. You teach interesting things and make good jokes." As they sat together, watching the stars, June realized how much these two aliens had changed his life. Before meeting them, he had been a solitary engineer who avoided emotional connections. Now he was part of a family that crossed species boundaries and spanned the galaxy. The next morning brought news that the Devourer fleet had entered the outer solar system. Earth's defenders moved into position around the planet while civilian populations were evacuated to underground shelters. Aboard the Teguk, Vela took her position at the Crystal Matrix Control Center. Her skin blazed with brilliant light as she interfaced with the alien technology throughout the ship. The entire vessel hummed with harmonious energy that felt alive and aware. "All systems responding to Crystal Singer control," she reported. "Defense matrix is stable and ready for combat." Through the ship's viewports, June could see the approaching Devourer vessels. They were dark angular shapes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Everything about their design spoke of consumption and domination rather than harmony and growth. The battle for two worlds was about to begin, and the outcome would determine whether love and family could triumph over the cold logic of collective consumption. The first Devourer ships appeared as dark spots against the star field, moving faster than anything human sensors had ever tracked. Admiral Kang Woo-jin's voice crackled through the communication systems of Earth's defense fleet as he coordinated the initial response. "All vessels maintain defensive positions around lunar orbit," he commanded. "Do not engage until the enemy enters the Crystal Matrix field." Li Jun stood beside Vela at the Crystal Control Center aboard the battleship Teguk. Her skin blazed with brilliant patterns as she maintained the defensive shield network protecting Earth. The strain was already showing on her face after only minutes of full interface. "How many ships are we facing?" June asked as he monitored the tactical displays. "Sensors show 47 capital vessels and over 200 smaller attack craft," replied Captain Lee Min-ho from the bridge. "They're moving in a formation we've never seen before." Through the crystal matrix connection, Vela could sense things that human instruments missed. "The Devourers hunt as collective mind," she explained while maintaining her concentration. "Individual ships are like fingers of same hand. They coordinate perfectly because they share single consciousness." The alien fleet spread out as it approached Earth, surrounding the planet from multiple directions. It was clear they intended to prevent any escape while systematically destroying all resistance. "They're not just seeking conquest," Vela continued. Devourers want to capture living crystal singers to add to their collective. Kiros and I are primary targets. Young Kiros sat in the corner of the command center, watching everything with wide eyes. The child understood he was seeing his mother's final battle. His own glow was subdued but steady as he tried to be brave for her sake. The first exchange of fire came when Devourer scout ships tested Earth's defensive perimeter. Human energy weapons, amplified by crystal matrices, struck the alien vessels. With devastating effect, 3 enemy ships were destroyed in the opening seconds. Crystal technology is working, Admiral Kang Woo-jin reported with satisfaction. Our weapons are penetrating their shields. But the Devourers learned quickly. The main fleet adjusted their shield frequencies and began attacking from angles that tested the crystal matrix network. Vela's skin flared brighter as she compensated for their tactical changes. They adapt fast, she warned. Collective mind shares knowledge instantly among all ships. What one learns, all know immediately. The battle intensified as larger Devourer vessels entered combat range. Their weapons were unlike anything in human experience. Dark energy beams that seemed to drain power from whatever they touched. Projectiles that phased through normal matter and struck directly at electronic systems. Earth's defense fleet fought back with everything they had. Human tactical thinking combined with Crystal Singer technology created battle strategies that confused the enemy collective. Individual ships made unpredictable decisions that the hive mind struggled to counter. The Devourers expect logical collective responses, Vela explained as she redirected power to damaged sections of the defense network. Human creativity and individual initiative disrupt their coordination patterns. But the enemy's numerical advantage was overwhelming. For every Devourer ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. Earth's defenders were being pushed back toward the planet's atmosphere. "We're losing the outer perimeter," Captain Lee Min-ho reported. "Request permission to withdraw to closer defensive positions." "Negative," Admiral Kang Woo-jin responded. "If they reach low orbit, they can begin planetary bombardment. We hold this line no matter what." June could see that Vela was reaching her limits. The crystal matrix interface required enormous biological energy to maintain. Her glow was becoming unstable and her breathing labored. "You need to take a break," he urged her. "Let the automated systems handle things for a few minutes." "Cannot." "Stop!" she replied through gritted teeth. "If crystal connection fails, defense network collapses. Earth becomes defenseless." The Devourer flagship, a massive vessel larger than anything in human fleet, pushed through the defensive line and targeted the Taeguk directly. Its weapons were designed specifically to disrupt Crystal Singer technology. "They know I am here," Vela gasped as dark energy beams struck the ship. "Collective wants to capture last free Crystal Singer and convert me to their cause." The Taeguk shuddered under the attack. Several crystal matrices overloaded and went dark, reducing the ship's defensive capabilities. More importantly, the feedback through the bio-interface was causing Vela physical damage. Kiros jumped up from his corner as his mother cried out in pain. "Mama, Vela hurt! Make bad ship stop!" June made a desperate decision. The human brain was not designed to interface with Crystal Singer technology, but he had experienced Vela's memory sharing. Perhaps there was enough residual connection to help her. "Teach me how to share the load," he said urgently. "You can't maintain the entire network alone." "Too dangerous for human mind," Vela protested. "Crystal interface can cause permanent neural damage to non-singers." "We don't have a choice," June replied. He placed his hands on the crystal matrix beside hers. "Show me what to do." The connection was like being struck by lightning. Alien energy flooded through June's nervous system as he tried to help maintain the defensive network. His human brain processed information in completely different patterns than Crystal Singer biology, but somehow it worked. The hybrid connection created something neither species could achieve alone. Human tactical awareness combined with Crystal Singer harmonic control generated new possibilities for the defense network. Shields became more adaptive. weapons more precisely targeted. "It's working," Vela said with amazement. "Human neural patterns add chaos variables that disrupt Devourer. Collective predictions. The tide of battle began to turn. Earth's defenders, now guided by the hybrid human crystal singer interface, started destroying enemy ships faster than they could be replaced. The Devourer formation began to show signs of confusion and disorder, but the effort was destroying both June and Vela. The crystal interface was never designed for dual-species operation. Energy feedback was burning out their nervous systems with each passing minute. "Papa June! Mama Vela!" Kiros called out in distress as he watched both his guardians suffering from the interface connection. The child's emotional cry triggered something unexpected. Kiros's natural crystal singer abilities, dormant until now, suddenly activated in response to his family's pain. His skin blazed with pure white light as untrained but powerful psychic energy reached out across space. The young aliens desperate. Message broadcast on frequencies that penetrated the Devourer collective consciousness. "Stop hurting my family. Earth is sanctuary. Family protects family." The effect was immediate and shocking. Several Devourer ships suddenly stopped attacking and began broadcasting surrender signals. The collective mind was experiencing something it had not felt in centuries. Individual emotional responses breaking through the unified consciousness. Some of them are remembering what it was like to be individuals, Vela realized. Kiros's pure emotional broadcast is awakening suppressed memories of family and love. The Devourer fleet began to fragment as more ships broke away from the collective control. Some continued attacking while others simply stopped moving, their crews struggling with returned individual awareness. The flagship, however, remained under complete collective control. It launched a final desperate attack directly at the Taeguk, seeking to destroy the source of the disruption to their unity. "All power to forward shields," Captain Lee Min-ho ordered. "Prepare for impact." But the Devourer's most powerful weapon missed its target. At the last second, the ship's aim was thrown off by its own crew members who had broken free from collective control. The dark energy beam passed harmlessly into space. "The collective is losing cohesion," Vela reported with satisfaction. "Individual Devourers are choosing freedom over unity." The remaining loyal Devourer ships began a fighting retreat toward the edge of the solar system. They had failed in their mission to capture the Crystal Singers and convert Earth to their collective vision. As the enemy withdrew, June and Vela collapsed from the strain of maintaining the hybrid interface. Both had pushed their biological systems far beyond safe limits to protect two worlds. Kiros rushed to their side, his young face bright with tears and relief. "Papa June and Mama Vela saved everyone. Family won the big fight." Through the observation windows, they could see Earth still spinning peacefully in space. The blue world had survived its first interstellar war, but at a cost that was yet to be fully understood. The battle was over, but the real challenge of recovery and building a future for two species was just beginning. 6 months after the battle, Lee Jun woke up in his hospital room to the sound of children playing outside. Through the large window, he could see the expanded alien quarter of New Seoul stretching toward the horizon. Human and Therian architecture, blended together in ways that seemed impossible but somehow worked perfectly. His recovery from the crystal interface injuries had been slow but complete. The human brain was remarkably adaptable, and the neural pathways created during the battle had actually improved his cognitive abilities in unexpected ways. He could now sense electromagnetic fields and had an intuitive understanding of crystalline structures. "Good morning, Papa June," came a familiar musical voice from the doorway. Kiros entered the room carrying a tray of breakfast that included both human food and the glowing nutrient crystals that Therians needed for proper health. The young alien had grown taller in the past months, and his bioluminescent patterns had become more complex as he matured. "How is your mother today?" June asked as he accepted the breakfast tray. Mama Vela is teaching the new families how to grow proper crystal gardens, Kiros replied proudly. She says the Earth's soil needs special minerals, but she can make it work with human help. Vela's recovery had been more complicated than June's. The strain of the battle interface had damaged her biological systems, but the arrival of other Therian refugees had provided something even more valuable than medical treatment. Her people's natural healing abilities worked better in the presence of other crystal singers. 3. Therian ships had arrived in the weeks following the battle, drawn by Kiros's psychic beacon that had disrupted the Devourer collective. These were survivors who had hidden in distant star systems, afraid to trust anyone after losing their homeworld. Earth had welcomed them with open arms. The planet's leaders understood that diversity made civilizations stronger, and the Therians brought knowledge and abilities that complemented human technology perfectly. Dr. Park wants to see you this afternoon, Kiros continued as he helped June get dressed. She says the new communication arrays are ready for testing. Dr. Park Soo-jin, formerly Station Commander Park So-jin, had become Earth's first director of interspecies relations. Her experience with first contact protocols made her the natural choice for managing the growing alien population. The communication arrays were a joint human-Therian project designed to detect and contact other refugee species fleeing the Devourer expansion. Early signals suggested there were many other civilizations scattered across the galaxy, hiding from the collective threat. June made his way through the hospital corridors, noting the changes that had occurred during his recovery. Human medical equipment now incorporated Therian healing crystals. Therian patients received treatment alongside human ones. The staff included members of both species working together as naturally as if they had always been one people. Outside the hospital, New Seoul had transformed into something wonderful and strange. Traditional Korean architecture stood beside, crystal spires that grew like living things toward the sky. Therian gardens provided food and beauty, while human engineering ensured proper infrastructure for both species. Children played in parks where human and Therian young learned games from both cultures. The laughter sounded the same in any language, and the sight always made June smile. He found Vela in the central plaza, teaching a group of newly arrived Therian refugees how to adapt their crystal-growing techniques to Earth's environment. Her skin glowed with health and contentment as she worked with soil samples and mineral supplements. "June!" she called out when she saw him approaching. "Come see what we have accomplished!" The refugee families had created a small crystal garden in the center of the plaza. Beautiful formations grew in spirals and arcs that caught sunlight and transformed it into rainbow patterns. But more importantly, the crystals were producing food and medicine that both species could use. "The earth minerals are different from our homeworld," Vela explained, "but humans have helped us find the right combinations. Together we create something new and better than either species could manage alone." It was a perfect metaphor for what was happening across the planet. Human and Therian cultures were blending in ways that strengthened both without destroying the unique qualities of either. "Mama Vela! Papa June!" Kiros came running across the plaza with several other children close behind. The group included both human and Therian young, all chattering excitedly in a mixture of Korean and musical Therian phrases. "We found another signal," Kiros announced breathlessly. "The communication array detected someone calling for help. Can we go rescue them? Like you rescued us." June looked at Vela and saw the same thought in her eyes. Their small family had grown into something larger than they had ever imagined. But there were still others out there who needed sanctuary and protection. "Where is the signal coming from?" June asked. "The Kepler system," replied one of the human children who had been helping with the detection equipment. "It's really far away, but the message is definitely asking for help." Dr. Park Soo-jin approached the group with a tablet displaying the signal analysis. "We've confirmed it's from another refugee species fleeing the Devourers. The translation Computers suggest they call themselves the Singers of Stone. Their ship is damaged and they're requesting sanctuary. How long would it take to reach them? Vela asked. With our new hybrid drive systems, about 3 weeks, Dr. Park replied. But it would mean sending our best rescue ship on a dangerous mission into unknown space. June looked around at the thriving community they had built, human and Therian families living together in harmony, children who thought having friends from other worlds was perfectly normal, a civilization that was stronger because it embraced diversity instead of fearing it. We have to go, he said finally. That's what families do. They help other families who need protection. Kiros's skin brightened with excitement. Can Kiros come too? I want to help rescue more people like Papa June rescued us. The journey would be educational for all our children, Vela suggested. They could learn about other species and cultures. It would prepare them for the galaxy we are building together. 2 days later, the rescue ship New Harmony departed Earth, orbit with a mixed crew of humans and Therians. June served as the mission's primary engineer while Vela handled crystal technology coordination. Kiros and a group of other children came along as cultural ambassadors. As Earth grew smaller behind them, June realized how much his life had changed since that day he heard a faint distress signal. He had been a solitary engineer focused only on machines and technical problems. Now he was part of something bigger than himself. Papa June, Kiros said as he joined him at the observation window. Do you think the Stone Singers will like Earth as much as we do? I think any family looking for a safe home will love what we've built together, June replied. Earth isn't just a human world anymore. It's a sanctuary for anyone who believes in cooperation instead of conquest. Through the ship's communication system came reports from Earth about more signals being detected. Species across the galaxy were learning that there was a place where different peoples could live together in peace. A world where families were defined by love rather than biology. When we get back, there will be even more new families to welcome, Vela said as she joined them at the window. Our small rescue mission has become something much larger. June put his arms around both his alien family members and looked out at the stars. Somewhere among those distant suns were other refugees, other families seeking safety and a chance to build better lives. Then we'll make Earth big enough for all of them, he said. That's what families do. They grow to include everyone who needs belonging. The New Harmony continued its journey toward the Kepler system, carrying hope and sanctuary to another species in need. Behind them, Earth spun peacefully in space, home to a growing community that proved the galaxy was big enough for every family that chose love over fear. As the stars stretched into lines around their ship, June smiled at the simple truth he had learned from saving 2 aliens who became his family. Heroes weren't made by grand gestures or perfect timing. They were made by ordinary people who chose to help when help was needed most. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, helping others would help you discover the family you never knew you were looking for. The rescue mission continued toward distant stars, carrying 3 generations of hope toward whatever new beginnings awaited them among the endless possibilities of space. Earth had become more than humanity's homeworld. It had become proof that different species could build something beautiful together when they chose cooperation over conquest. In the years that followed, the children playing in New Soul's mixed neighborhoods would grow up thinking it was perfectly normal to have friends whose skin glowed with bioluminescent patterns. They would learn mathematics from Therian crystal singers and poetry from human teachers. They would inherit a galaxy where family meant something deeper than shared genetics.